In case you didn't know, we're just coming to the end of the World Breastfeeding Week. And this, of course, is a week which awareness is raised on breastfeeding, the benefits, and why we need to be going on that way. But before we get into the conversation, let me introduce the panel that we have this morning. And we are joined by Sarah Ngeli, who is a senior nurse at MP Shah Hospital. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We are also joined by Dr. Shafiq Dosaji, who's a pediatrician at MP Shah Hospital. Thank you for joining us. And last but not least, Evelyn Kibe, who works for Safaricom. And Safaricom, of course, has been very, very deliberate on ensuring that breastfeeding and spaces are created for mothers who are breastfeeding to ensure that they promote that. So let's start, first of all, maybe just by understanding what World Breastfeeding Week is all about. And maybe, Dr. Dosaji, you can just give us a little bit of a breakdown of what that is all about.
Good morning to our audiences. I would like to wish a World Breastfeeding Week, and today I think it's the end of the week. And this initiative is to give awareness to women who are breastfeeding, and they should know how to deal with the situation, when and how to breastfeed, and what is the requirements of their neonates, when they are born. And there are some problems in breastfeeding because most of the women these days have got some cosmetic reasons, and for this reason some of the women are ignorant and they don't want to breastfeed their children. So I think this week is to just give what breastfeeding is, and it's about all awareness.
All right, and we certainly did collect some views from Kenyans of what they feel and think about breastfeeding, but I'll come to that shortly. But let me start from you, Sarah, on the question of whether you agree that there are some who feel, or maybe people are just ignorant about breastfeeding.
Yeah, good morning, viewers. It's true, some mothers feel like they're not willing to breastfeed because of their figure. They're disfiguring their breasts. And so it is a great initiative that every woman who gives birth to a baby should breastfeed, because breastfeeding milk is the best with nutrients for the baby.
Okay, and Evelyn, we do know that on the corporate field, one of the challenges that many mothers have is just a place to breastfeed. I remember not too long ago where we had a story of a woman who went into a restaurant and she was asked to move from where she was because she was breastfeeding, and the people or the waiters felt that it was somewhat disrespectful to the rest. But I remember a time where breastfeeding, I mean, you'd be in a bus and women would breastfeed quite freely. But maybe just your thoughts on whether corporates are taking up creating spaces and environments where women can actually breastfeed freely.
At Safaricom, we've taken the initiative to address that concern for our women. So from two perspectives. The first perspective is where we have an in-house creche, where a mother who is straight from maternity leave is free to come with a child to work, and during the break then they are able to actually breastfeed these children. And then secondly, we have a mother's room. A mother's room is just a nice, spacious room that has a nice environment for mothers to actually express the milk and store it in a convenient place. So we create that as much atmosphere to just ensure that mothers are comfortable and that they can breastfeed and store the milk at any point in time.
At any point in time. And just to mention for the records, at Standard Group, we also do have a segment that has been set aside specifically for mothers who are breastfeeding, for it to make it easier and to ensure that they're able to continue with their work and their usual duties without necessarily worrying about how they're going to breastfeed or whether how that milk is going to be stored. Now, we did speak to Kenyans and we wanted to find out what their concerns or their thoughts or even their knowledge of breastfeeding was. And here are some of the sound bites that we managed to collect.
I'm supporting the women like the Kewota unionists who are advocating for privacy as far as breastfeeding is concerned. And therefore, I'm urging the like-minded that women should actually value that kind of privacy. Breastfeeding in public is something that I think is not in order.
This is my baby who is thirsty or hungry at the moment, and I feel whether in public or not, she's my baby and I really need to breastfeed her. I don't care who is watching or what is happening. This is my baby. I'll do anything for my baby.
I believe it's good for them to breastfeed in public. I'm actually okay with that. I don't see what's the big deal about it. So any women out there who have kids, you just continue, just breastfeed their babies. It's good.
The breastfeeding is the right for our babies. It's the baby's food and we should not fear. And we should give them anytime they want. It does not matter where you are, whether you're in public or not, that is their food.
I want to say that I'm against it because the first thing it is unhygienic and just like you cannot walk, you can't be walking around eating in public when people are looking at you. That's the first thing. The second thing is that when that kid is being breastfed from the public, you know, the public, many people have got maybe diseases, those ones that can be transmitted through the air.
All right, so quite a number of issues coming out there, which I would want us to start first of all by demystifying. We'll come to the actual benefits, but let me start with you, Sarah. There are those, the gentleman there says that one, it's an unhygienic. Is that necessarily true?
Hygiene is very vital in breastfeeding, and we usually advocate for mothers to ensure that they are washing their hands before they breastfeed, and they ensure hygiene before breastfeeding. And so the gentleman who just spoke about hygiene, I support hygiene is very vital. And so it's true that breastfeeding is on demand, but it's also good for you as a mother to identify a good environment for you to feed the baby, ensuring that hygiene is monitored.
Okay, but now when we say that, for instance, let's just create a scenario here. If a mother is in a bus traveling and the baby is hungry and the milk is available, is that an unhygienic environment?
In a bus, okay.
Or in public, let's say in public.
In public, I think it is not an hygienic place as such, but also the mother is able to identify whether she is in the right place. There are wipes also. You can use wipes to wipe the ones that are free from alcohol, and then you breastfeed your child.
Okay.
Yeah.
Daktari, do you have any concerns if a mother breastfed in public, in a public open space? Are there concerns that you have?
No, I think the mothers should be free to be breastfeeding their children's or infants wherever they want. It's only that they have to take care of the hygiene, as the nurse said here. There are wet wipes which are readily available, and all the mothers are carrying in their bags with them, so they can just wash their hands, like wipe their hands and just wipe the nipple and the areola around. And I think they can go ahead and breastfeed the babies in public.
Evelyn, how practical is that given the day and age we are living in, that a mother will just whip out the mammary gland and begin to feed the baby because there is also the element of embarrassment? Or should we be in a point where that should not be an embarrassing thing? I mean, like I said earlier, I remember a time where a woman would breastfeed with no shame, and we should get to a point where that should be the case. I mean, we're all results of being breastfed.
Yeah. I think that the urge that comes with the child to breastfeed is almost immediate, and the child becomes a bit very uncomfortable. So it's okay to breastfeed in public, and you can always have a shawl if you feel embarrassed to just cover yourself if then that is the issue, so that then you don't expose yourself exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
Daktari, there's also the question of cosmetic, concerns. There's some mothers who feel, particularly young mothers who feel that if they breastfeed their children, they may end up losing shape of their bodies.
Yes, this is a big concern in the last 5 to 10 years, I can say that. Because, in the olden days, like when we were children, our mothers never thought of, something like that. But, as the world trend is changing and, the young girls, when they become pregnant, I think their first goal is not to breastfeed their children so that, they don't have the sagging breast or whatever. I think it's just, as I said before, the ignorance that they don't know the values of the breast milk and how important is breast milk, because breast milk is free, breast milk is cheap, breast milk is at the temperature which is available, you know, it's at the body temperature, and it's full of proteins, vitamins, and all the essential nutrients that the neonate or the infant should be having in the first 6 months of life. And I think, the problem of cosmetic is now becoming global, and I think this is more with intelligent or, you know...
But is it necessarily true? Because some things are more myths than fact. Is it true that when you breastfeed, then there are chances that your breast may sag?
No, it's not only during a single pregnancy, probably. If there are multiple pregnancies and you have 5, 6 children in line and all of them will be breastfed, probably there is this problem of sagging, but not with a single pregnancy, or, you know, like you are having a second child and, you know, you'll be having a sagging breast. No, that's not the case.
All right, Evelyn, Sarah, the question of benefits that mothers are likely to pass on to their children when they breastfeed. I mean, breast milk is God-made, literally, for that child. So what are some of the benefits that you see vis-a-vis those who've not breastfed, and some of the issues that maybe you can highlight?
Okay, I will say some, and Dr. Shafiq will highlight more. Breast milk essentially has the essential nutrients that are needed for a baby, especially for growth. When you breastfeed your child, it's more likely to achieve the correct milestones. And this is seen when maybe you come for your checkup and the baby is increasing in weight. And so the mothers breastfeed as some antibiotics, and so it fights some bacteria. It is also a healing element when you are breastfeeding. And also, breast milk is very essential in the child's growth,
brain
and
retinal development.
Yes.
Okay, and some of the images we can see now are from a creche that Safaricom has developed, literally giving mothers a place where they can bring their children. And maybe, Evelyn, just to give us a rundown of what exactly happens there, and others maybe may emulate that.
Basically what happens at the creche is we offer a free service where parents are free to actually just bring their children to work, and we hire professional caregivers who are trained, who are trained in child development and also trained in first aid. So basically, you bring your child to work. They have different programs for the children. So depending on the age and the milestones that each child needs to achieve, then they develop a specific program. And the teachers' ratio is about 1 to 6, making sure that each child gets the attention that they require without necessarily, just having that balancing act of each and every child.
Okay, and what are there age limits? I mean, I could decide to bring my child there instead of taking them to school.
We do allow that, but the age limit is between 6 months to 7 years. At times we do get older children and we do not turn them away. What we do is we creatively find a way to keep them busy, probably at the resource center, because this is a child and you don't want, the mother to have some anxiety or the father. So we do accommodate them. Yes.
All right, Dr. coming back to you on the benefits of breastfeeding, some of the things that may be elements that mothers may miss out when they do not breastfeed their children.
Yeah, so breastfeeding is very important, as we said, and the breast milk, the content of the breast milk, if you take the breast milk and put it under a 3D microscope, you will have an amazing picture of the breast milk. Why? Because it has been divided into compartments, and these compartments are consisting of proteins, of carbohydrates, of nutrients, of enzymes, and of lipids. And there are some lipids like LCP, long-chain fatty acids, polyunsaturated fatty acids, which are very important for the brain development and for the retinal development of the child. So like there are some enzymes which are very important for the babies, and even the passing by of the microflora of the mother's gut into the baby. So, you know, like when a neonate is just born, and we want this neonate to take the first drop of the mother's milk, the colostrum. Why? Because this colostrum is very rich in all the immune globulins, the lactalbumins, which are very important in the first immunogenic response of the child. And it's also passing up the microflora of the mother into the baby. And this, in the future, will develop into a very good immune system so that this child will, later in life will develop some sort of diseases, but you know, the newborn diseases like diarrhea, like pneumonia or bronchitis or whatever, you know, it's going to save the child up from taking up the breast milk. Yeah.
All right. And I'd like us to take a short break before we come back and look at how to. We can see we have babies here on the tables, and we'll be looking at how to. Maybe we have some new mothers who would want to know how to actually breastfeed and maybe effective ways of breastfeeding. And remember, if you have any questions, you're welcome to send them through. We have a pediatrician, we have a nurse, and if you have any questions, especially concerns regarding breastfeeding, send them through, and I'll put them through to the panel that we have. For now, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back and continue with this discussion.